This is Crash Course Comparative Government. I'm Celia.
I'm Clara.
I'm Shelby.
And today we will be looking at the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom consists of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. It is one state made up of 4 nations. It was once a great world power. The British Empire spanned all across the globe, controlling many regions. They have an evolutionary or gradual democracy, which means that they did not have a revolution that rapidly transformed their government. Instead, they gradually passed reforms, which led them to the advanced democracy that we know today. In the period after World War II, public policy was based on social democratic values to lessen the gap between the rich and the poor. This was known as the welfare state, which arose from the philosophy of the collective consensus. This included the creation of the National Healthcare Service, or NHS, in 1948. In 1979, Margaret Thatcher took over as Prime Minister, bringing the Conservative Party to power. She blamed the weakened economy on socialist policies and decided to cut back on social welfare programs. She became known as the Iron Lady. Her policies became known as neoliberalism, which is the revival of classic liberal values that support low levels of government regulation, taxation, and social expenditures, as well as the protection of individual property rights. In 1997, there was a change in government and Tony Blair became Prime Minister. He promised to create a new Labour Party and rule in a third way. His reforms loosened his party's ties to labour unions, finding a middle path. He increased devolution to Scotland and Wales and removed hereditary voting rights. The 2010 election led to a hung parliament. This means that no party won a majority of seats in parliament, leading to a coalition government between the Conservative Party and the Liberal Democrat Party. David Cameron of the Conservative Party took over as Prime Minister, and in 2010 the government introduced an austerity program. This series of sustained reductions in public spending was intended to cut welfare and other public institutions. Now, let's look at more generally how the government is set up.
The UK legislative power is held by Parliament, which can make and/or overturn any law. However, Parliament is limited by the European Union, which overrides British law. The UK has a unitary form of government in which power is concentrated in London, but there has been devolution in recent years to local governments. The state is organized in a way in which there is no separation of powers. Therefore, the executive and legislative branches are fused together. The constitutional monarchy is the head of state, which is a traditional role. The Queen gives the Prime Minister advice, and royal assent to bills, meaning that she approves bills. The executive branch is run by the Prime Minister, who is the head of government, a member of Parliament, and leader of the majority party. He or she serves as long as they are leader of the majority party. It is the Prime Minister's duty to choose cabinet members and shape policy for the government. The cabinet is the center of policy making, and its members, known as ministers, are party leaders from Parliament. Parliament is made up of 2 houses, the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The House of Lords is composed of about 800 members. About 700 are appointed by the monarchy, and about 92 are hereditary peers, meaning they inherited their roles. There are also spiritual lords, which are officials of the Church of England. In the House of Lords, they debate, refine, amend, and delay, but cannot block legislation. The House of Commons includes the government, which consists of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. The shadow government, also known as the loyal opposition, checks the majority party because there are no checks and balances in the government. The Speaker of the House is a nonpartisan member of Parliament that decides who speaks and for how long they speak. They also keep order and vote when there is a tie. When it comes to party discipline, each member must vote along their party lines. A majority party wants to avoid a vote of no confidence, and if an issue is not supported, then the cabinet must resign immediately and new member of parliament elections must be held. Now, let's take a look at the judiciary.
The judiciary consists of the Supreme Court, which was established in 2009 and has 11 appointed justices. The Supreme Court acts as the final court of appeals with mild judicial review. It uses common law established by judicial precedent rather than written laws. Now into social cleavages. Their social cleavages affect how citizens vote and the ideologies of the political parties. There are ethnic cleavages, but because only 7.1% of the population is not from a European descent, there is discrimination against minorities. This makes ethnic cleavages a coinciding cleavage. There are also religious cleavages, and the main religious cleavages is between the Catholics and the Protestants, which is a cross-cutting cleavage. But there's also many Muslims living in the UK, and they are facing discrimination following the 9/11 attacks, which is a coinciding cleavage. 2 other cross-cutting cleavages are economic, between the working class and the middle class, and geographic, between the different countries in the UK. The UK has pluralist interest groups, and the British government uses quangos, which are interest groups created by Parliament. These interest groups have more influence over Parliament, but there have been many recent reforms on them, and many have been eliminated in an attempt to cut spending. The British government uses proportional representation. Proportional representation allows for multiple political parties. Even if a party does not have a majority, they can still get seats in Parliament. This makes Parliament more representative of the public. Some of the political parties include the Liberal Democrats, the Green Party, the Scottish National Party. But the two main political parties are the Conservative Party, which are our centre-right party that believes in private property, a strong military, and traditional values, and the Labour Party, which is a center-left party which believes in safer communities, more school funding, and unrestricted trade.
We hope this has been informative. Now, goodbye, or shall we say,
Cheerio!